Hi, so in this video I will talk about Candida albicans. I will talk about the acidity, alkaline myth about Candida albicans because I keep hearing people, especially naturopaths, that keep saying that you have Candida overgrowth because you are too acidic and that you need to alkalize your body to get rid of Candida. This is not true. I will prove it with several studies. So in this video, I will show you different studies. I took different parts, different extracts of different studies about that. And we will also talk about the relation between Candida and sugar. Should you eat sugar or not when you have Candida, and why, and it will be proved by science, by studies. So I have many videos on my YouTube channel about Candida, about how to heal from Candida overgrowth naturally. I will put the link of these videos up there on the right side, on the right top corner of this video if you want to check out this video, and you should, because I explain everything about Candida in these videos. So let's start. What is Candida albicans? Candida is a type of yeast. It's a type of fungi. It's a polymorphic fungi. As you can see here on this picture on the left, you can see that it can change its form. That's why we say it's a polymorphic fungi. So it starts as a single cell yeast, as you can see here, and it can change into pseudo hyphae and hyphae, as you can see here, depending on its environment. It will transform into pseudo hyphae and hyphae when its environment becomes alkaline, and we will see why. So these studies we will talk about, you see the links here, so go read these studies if you're interested. I can send them to you by email. You can just send me an email and I will send you the links, or you can just copy the links you see here. So these studies show that Candida thrives in acidic and alkaline mediums. Okay, it's not only acidic, it's also alkaline. So saying that you have Candida because you are too acidic is just not true. Okay, you have Candida because your gut is acidic? No, if your gut was acidic, if it had the correct pH that should be acidic, you wouldn't have Candida in your gut. Okay, so here are extracts of these studies. So Candida albicans is able to grow in media ranging from pH 2 to pH 10. Okay, so the pH is the scale that measures the acidity or the alkalinity of a medium. Okay, so the pH goes from 0 to 14, and 7 in the middle is considered neutral. So 7 is not acidic, is not alkaline, is just neutral. Okay, so below 7, so 7 to 0 is acidic. The more you get close to 0, the more acidic it is. And 7 up to 14 is alkaline, and the more you go up close to 14, the more alkaline it is. Okay, so Candida albicans is able to grow in media ranging from pH 2, very acidic, to pH 10, that is alkaline. Okay, so it shows that Candida grows in acidic and alkaline mediums. Okay, and here also it says this again, it thrives in most of these sites in the human body, the stomach, the skin, the vagina, the bloodstream, and so on, and the gut. Okay, so it thrives in most of these sites and is highly tolerant to a wide range of environmental pH conditions, from pH of 2 to pH of 10. Okay, neutral to alkaline pH promotes a switch from the budding yeast to the filamentous hyphal form, a differentiation event that is essential for virulence in this species. Okay, so what we saw right before, when it transformed into pseudo hyphae and a hyphae, that's when it becomes dangerous, that's when it becomes virulent. Okay, and as it says here, it becomes violent, it becomes hyphae when in an alkaline environment, neutral to alkaline environment. So here, this shows to the people who say you should get your gut alkaline to get rid of Candida. No, it's the opposite. If you get your gut alkaline, it will transform into its most virulent form. The studies also show that only a very high alkalinity can kill Candida. So yes, alkalinity can kill Candida. But look how much alkalinity you need. Here it talks about a pH of 12.5. That's very alkaline. So 48 hours of contact with this pH destroyed Candida. Okay, and then 7 days in contact with the pH of 9.5 and 10.5 destroyed Candida after 7 days. So yes, you can eliminate Candida with a high pH, but in reality, can you alkalize your body to that point? The answer is no. So as we saw before, here it shows that the stomach pH is about 2, very acidic. The skin and vagina are also acidic. The skin has a pH of about 6.5. The vagina has a pH about between 3 and 4. The bloodstream is neutral, so 7, and parts of the gut also 7. And some parts of the guts are alkaline. The most alkaline part of our body is the beginning of the small intestine, because that's where, like the end of the stomach, beginning of the small intestine, that's where the bile flows from the gallbladder. And the bile is the most alkaline juice, alkaline thing in our body. And its pH is about 8.5. Okay, so the most alkaline part of our body is 8.5. Here, this study shows that you need a pH of at least 9.5 to get rid of Candida, and it doesn't happen quickly at a pH of 9.5. It takes 7 days. So let's say that you want to alkalize your body to 9.5 to get rid of Candida. It would work, but after 7 days, it would be very slow. And also, your body is not supposed to have this type of pH. If you artificially change some part of your body to make it alkaline to this point, you will get sick. You will have tons of problems because your body is not supposed to be that with a pH that high. Okay, as we said, the highest pH will be 8.5, and it's in a very specific part of our body. So using alkalinity to kill Candida in our body is really, really not a good strategy. The studies also show that Candida is more vulnerable in an acidic medium. Okay, so this is a study that explains that in an acidic medium, the cell wall of Candida becomes more fragile and more visible, let's say, to our immune system. So I let you read if you want the details, but that's basically what it says. Okay, so this happens only in an acidic medium. Here they tested different acidities, and you can see that pH 4, yes, it was susceptible to be recognized by the immune system, and Candida was more vulnerable. But pH 6 and pH 8, it was not as vulnerable. So Candida albicans cells grown in an acidic media were more readily phagocytosed by macrophages and neutrophils than Candida albicans cells grown in a standard media of pH 7, of a neutral pH. Okay, so it shows that in an acidic medium, Candida albicans is not dangerous because it stays in its yeast form that is not pathogenic, and the immune system can see it and can control it and can eliminate it if it's needed. Now, the studies show that Candida can change the pH of its environment. So Candida itself will change the pH if it needs to. Okay, so again, people saying that alkalinity kills Candida, it's not true, because here you have different studies that explain that Candida can change the pH of its environment to make it more alkaline. So Candida albicans has a remarkable ability to alter extracellular pH, creating a neutral environment from either acidic or alkaline starting conditions. Candida albicans can actively alter its environment, raising the pH outside the cell. We have published a mechanism that involves excretion of ammonia derived from the breakdown of amino acids. In culture medium, this induces the cell to switch from a round yeast form to an invasive, elongated hyphal form, a switch known to be required for disease progression in animals. Okay. Candida albicans can raise the pH from 4 to 7 in less than 12 hours, resulting in auto-induction of the yeast hyphal transition, a critical virulence trait. Okay, so basically, when Candida feels unsafe in a certain type of environment, it can decide to change the pH of the environment and to make it more alkaline. And when it's more alkaline, then it changes into its hyphae form. To do so, Candida uses amino acids, but we will talk about that more in the next slides. So the studies show that the favorite food of Candida is glucose. In presence of glucose, it stays in its yeast form and it thrives. Okay. Candida species adapt their metabolism depending on the available nutrients. They are able to proliferate under both nutrient-rich and nutrient-poor conditions. So what does it mean? So this is something also that is important because many people think that they can starve Candida to death. They think that if they stop eating sugar, Candida will just die. It's not true, and this study just said so. Candida will survive even if you stop eating completely, or even if you stop eating glucose or any type of sugar. It will keep living, and actually studies show that in an environment that has too little sugar, that's when it will change the pH to alkaline, so it can transform into hyphae, and then it will become more virulent. Okay. During rich sugar conditions, there is more dispersion observed than under low sugar availability. This suggests that biofilms are a survival strategy during poor nutrient conditions. So also when Candida is not happy because there's not enough sugar, not only it will become a hyphae, so very virulent and very dangerous, but also it will start creating biofilms. So what are biofilms? Biofilms are kind of, it's like an armor that protects the Candida colonies. Okay, so biofilms will protect Candida from anything that is outside of the biofilms. So if you, for example, start taking antifungal drugs or natural antifungals, and the Candida colonies in your body are protected by biofilms, they won't be killed by your antifungals. Increasing glucose concentration led to upregulation of stress resistance genes in Candida albicans, causing an increased resistance to azole antifungal drugs. Okay, so when Candida has plenty of sugar to eat, it becomes more resistant to antifungal drugs. And here it says that patients with diabetes have a higher chance of getting a systemic Candida infection compared to non-diabetic people. So again, here it says that more glucose, more sugar in your body, it makes Candida thrive. So Candida changes pH in order to change to hyphae when starved. That's what I just said. Alkalinization is linked to carbon deprivation as it occurs in glucose-poor media and requires exogenous amino acids. Basically what it says is that when Candida is starved, when Candida is in an environment that doesn't have enough glucose, Candida decides to change the pH to alkaline, therefore it can change to its hyphae form, therefore it can become virulent. That will make Candida start eating your flesh because it will send its kind of like legs and arms into your mucosal lining, and that's when you will have the most symptoms from Candida overgrowth. You will have tons of gut issues if Candida is in your gut, so that's when problems will start. Okay, and that's also when it will form biofilms, as we said. Here it's a picture that was in one of these studies that shows the different levels of glucose in our body. So again, because we just explained that when Candida doesn't have enough glucose, it will become virulent. So not enough glucose is under 0.25, as it says somewhere, maybe in another study, as it says here. Here. Okay, so here we see in the mouth the glucose rate varies depending on food intake. On the skin, it's between 0.8 and 0.9. In the blood, it's between 1 and 2 milligrams per milliliter. In your gut, here also it varies depending on food intake, so it depends on your diet. And in the vagina, it varies between 0.5 to 1. Okay, so what does it mean? So yes, in these studies in a lab, they could see that Candida could change the pH itself and become virulent when it doesn't have enough glucose to it. But in reality, we just see here in this picture that in our body, there's always enough glucose. So if Candida changes from a yeast to an hyphae, it won't be because of the lack of glucose. It's not possible, and especially in our modern world where we eat way too much glucose, where we eat way too much sugar. Okay, so there are other reasons why Candida will change into hyphae and becomes pathogenic. So in what conditions Candida changes to hyphae? As we just said, because of starvation, when there's not enough sugar, because of an increased pH that Candida can provoke itself. But an increased pH can be caused also because of antibiotics. Drastic alkalization was induced by antibiotics, especially in the cecum and the colon. Reduction in the intestinal bacteria caused by antibiotics led to alkalization. One of the most notable features of Candida albicans associated dysbiotic states is a marked change in the levels of lactic acid bacteria. Okay, so basically the pH in your gut will change and will become alkaline when you take antibiotics, because antibiotics kill the bacteria in your gut. What bacteria in your gut do? They eat what gets there, and then they make acids. They make several different acids that keep an acidic pH in your gut. This acidic pH makes sure that Candida stays in its yeast form and it doesn't evolve into an hyphae form that is pathogenic. Okay? And also these bacteria, with these acids that they make, they repair your gut lining and your gut mucosa. Okay? So when you take antibiotics, that's when Candida will change and will become a pathogen. Okay? So in conclusion, what we saw here with these different studies, we saw that Candida loves sugar and it multiplies faster in its yeast form in the presence of sugar. In an acidic medium, in its yeast form, it is more easily kept in check by our immune system. It is more resistant to antifungals in the presence of sugar. Deprived of sugar, it alkalizes its environment by using amino acids to transform into hyphae, a more virulent form than the form of yeast. Deprived of sugar, in the form of hyphae, it hides under biofilms. It becomes more virulent from pH 6.5 and above, and is viable in its hyphae form at a pH around 7, from 6.5 to 8.5 mainly. It can turn into hyphae if the pH increases, and this happens with the destruction of acid-producing probiotics in our gut. So basically, let's take an example. Let's take one person. Let's call this person Bob. Okay, so Bob is just a normal guy, and he lives in the US, let's say, and he eats a SAD diet, a standard American diet, lots of sugar, lots of refined carbs. Okay, so he has a diet high in sugar. As we just see, Candida loves sugar. So Candida will eat this excess sugar in this diet and will multiply. So Candida will thrive, and there will be a huge population of Candida developing in Bob's gut. Okay, at this point it's fine because Candida is overgrowing, yes, but it's overgrowing in its yeast form that is not pathogenic. So far Bob doesn't have any symptom. But let's say one day he takes antibiotics. What happens? The antibiotics not only destroy all the bacteria in his gut, but also destroy his immunity, because we know that's what antibiotics do. By the way, also a high sugar diet is very bad for your immune system. So yeah, it's another reason why Candida will overgrow, not only because it will eat all the sugar in your diet, but also because you weaken your immune system when you have a high sugar diet. Okay, so anyway, so Bob takes antibiotics. Not only he already had a huge population of Candida in its yeast form in his gut, but now that he took antibiotics, all the bacteria that were keeping Candida in check, that were keeping an acidic pH in the gut, all these bacteria are gone. So what happens? Because they are gone, the pH of the gut will raise, will become alkaline. Also, the immune system is, let's say, kind of destroyed when you take antibiotics. So it's a perfect environment for Candida to become pathogenic and to start destroying your gut. And that's when you will have tons of symptoms. So Bob, at this point, has a very bad Candida overgrowth in his gut, and he's having gut issues. He can't digest anything, and so on. Okay? So anyway, what can you do? What should you do when you have Candida? We just saw that you need to lower the sugar intake. Yes, but you still need to eat carbs, because as we saw, if there's zero carbs, Candida is not happy, so it will become more virulent. But also your body, to have a properly functioning immune system, needs carbs. You need to eat carbs. Okay, so I'm really not in favor of zero carb diets. They are really bad for you. They won't solve the problem of your Candida overgrowth. Yes, you need to lower the amount of carbs that you eat, but you still need some carbs. Okay, and then you also need to acidify your gut to get rid of Candida. How do you acidify your gut? With probiotics. The only way that you can acidify your gut is by taking probiotics. But before bringing probiotics into your gut, you need to get rid of most of the Candida in your gut in its pathogenic form by taking antifungals. And I explained that in many of my other videos. You need also to take supplements that will destroy the biofilm, so these antifungals can reach Candida. Okay, so what you need to do, basically, lower the sugar intake but still eat some carbs, take antifungals, and take supplements that will destroy the biofilm, and take probiotics. In the end, it's the probiotics that are the most important, because they will recreate an acidic medium in your gut, and that's how your gut will be healthy, and that's how you will get rid of Candida. So if you need some help, I have a course on how to heal your gut naturally. I have a course on how to heal from Candida overgrowth. It's a very detailed course. It includes consultations with me. So the link will be under this video in the description box. And yes, you can heal from Candida naturally. And after you heal from Candida, after you heal your gut, you will be able to eat again whatever you want with your friends and family, and you will be able to be happy again. Okay, so I see you in the next video. Bye bye.